Hello there. Have you ever wondered what the best era of NBA basketball is? Well, you're gonna find out, and I'm gonna find out with you. Because I built a team from the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s with all their best players that represented the play style of that era. So first, let's look at the team from the 90s. The team from the 90s is the San Antonio Spurs. So starting off, we got Gary Payton at point guard, the glove. It was really between him and John Stockton, but Gary Payton's got a cool nickname, and he just really defines the way of the 90s and that physical style defense that they say they had. A lot of hand checking, but in the paint, they say you go down there, you get beat up, but I don't know. And at shooting guard, of course, is Michael Jordan. He's the best player of his era. Some say he's the best player of all time. On the other wing, at the 3 is Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan's sidekick. But he was like one of the first point forwards and a really good defender, so he makes the team. At power forward, we got one of the best power forwards of all time is Karl Malone, the mailman. He was one of the most physically imposing players of all times. I mean, the guy was humongous. He was like LeBron James, but back then, build-wise, not athleticism or production-wise. And center, we have one of the best defensive players of all time, one of the most skilled players of all time, Hakeem Olajuwon at center for the 90s. The team from the 2000s is the Houston Rockets. Now, for the 2000s team, there was a lot of players to pick from. There's a lot of iconic players that we grew up watching, or at least that I grew up watching. And we got point guard, one of the most iconic players of all time is Allen Iverson. He may not be the most pure point guard, but it's impossible to leave him off this list. I know there's Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, and guys like that, but it's impossible to leave off AI. At the 2 is obviously Kobe. Can't leave him off the list. He's the next best thing in terms of emulating Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant's got that mom mentality. Everybody wanted to grow up being like Mike. Kobe actually succeeded, and now everybody grew up wanting to be like Kobe, and that is everyone's idol from that era, so it's impossible to leave him off. At the 3, we got a young LeBron James from his first stint with the Cavaliers. I mean, the guy got chosen one tattooed on his back while in high school, because when he was in high school, they set the expectations so high for him. They were saying if he's not a Hall of Famer, he's a bust. At power forward, there was a couple of people I was debating between Dirk, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, but Tim Duncan is the best power forward of all time. I don't care what you say. He's in there at power forward. And at center, we got none other than Shaq. That's self-explanatory. And the team from the 2010s is the Washington Wizards. And for the 2010s, this is where it might get a little controversial. So the 2010s was a small ball era, and it still is a small ball era going into the 2020s, but it's going into a more length and diversified player profile. But it was really dominated by wing players in the 2010s. So we got Steph Curry, obviously the unanimous MVP back-to-back. He's got to be in there, the best shooter of all time. At the 2, it's Kawhi Leonard. Nowadays, he doesn't really play a lot of basketball, but in the 2010s, Kawhi Leonard was an animal, and he still could be an animal if he ever wants to play, but the defense and the shot making and the clutch gene, you got to go with Kawhi Leonard at the shooting guard. At the 3 is Kevin Durant. Could really be LeBron James, but Kevin Durant is the 3 at small forward. Kevin Durant, little snaky behavior. In the 2010s, he had the teams with Russell Westbrook and James Harden and Serge Ibaka on the Thunder, and then he lost to the Warriors and joined them the next to create the team with the best record of all time. But nonetheless, Kevin Durant is one of the most skilled players ever. Can't leave him off this team. And at the 4, we got the Miami Heat LeBron James, which in my opinion is the best player of all time. He was 260, 270 pounds, jumping out the gym, running, dunking, shooting threes well, playing defense, should have won defense player of the year, but he is at power forward. And this is the most controversial pick out of all 15 players is Blake Griffin at center. His natural position is a power forward, but there's not really many iconic centers from the 2010s, and since it was a small ball era, a lot of forwards were playing center like Draymond Green, LeBron James at times, Chris Bosh, who's not a natural center. Guys like Dirk Nowitzki were playing center. So I had it down to the Lob City Clippers. Don't act like you forgot about the Lob City Clippers. DeAndre Jordan was a monster, so I was debating between DeAndre Jordan or Blake Griffin, but since it was a small ball era and they went with more skill in the 2010s, I went with Blake Griffin, high flyer, and I mean he's still a 91. So don't hate on the Blake Griffin pick. I think he fits in perfect with small ball 5 lineup. Now let's see which era was the best. Now let's simulate the 90s era team, the San Antonio Spurs, all the way until they played the 2000s Rockets. So far, they're not taking any losses. I don't expect this team to lose many games. I don't expect any of the 3 teams to lose many games, but they are dominating almost every game they're in, winning by at least like probably 10 points. Now here's the game against 2000 Rockets, and the 90s team blows out by 14 points the 2000s team. Let's check the box score. Michael Jordan goes for 52 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 steals. That's incredible on 22 of 31, on 3 of 4 from 3. That is an outstanding game. Outstanding shooting performance. Scottie Pippen playing point forward with 13 assists. Gary Payton with 20 assists. That's insane. Hakeem Olajuwon, not a huge game, but 2 blocks. Karl Malone, 3 blocks. Triple-double. Triple-double machine in 2K, I guess. Let's see how the 2000s team did. Shaq with 36, 13, and 7. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Kobe with 31, 2, and 10 on 13 and 19. Great shooting day. Kobe Bryant with 10 assists. That's incredible. LeBron, 25, 3, 15, 4 blocks on 9 of 18. So that's a great LeBron game, especially with this cast around him. AI, 8 of 16. You hope a little bit better, but 50% from AI is not bad. And 13 assists, pretty good. Tim Duncan with a triple-double on 8 of 12. That's pretty good. But going up against a team like that, I guess you got to do a little bit better. Can't have Michael Jordan score 52 points. And they got a rematch right here on December 19th. Let's see who takes away. Can the series even up, or will the 90s take a 2-0 lead on the 2000s? And the series is evened up. They lose by 5 to the 2000s team. Duncan with a really good game. Kobe with a good game. Iverson a good game. LeBron with a little bit worse game, but 7 steals, but he didn't shoot very well, but 7 steals is outstanding. And Shaq with a decent game. 4 blocks, 5 of 14. That's not good. Surprised they won this game. So right off the bat, they obviously limited Michael Jordan to not 52 points, 19 points. Everybody else had pretty decent games. We're gonna watch the 2000s Rockets up until this All-Star break. It seems they have 2 losses, 32 and 2. One of them was to the 90s team. So I wonder who that second loss came from. We'll take a look whenever we get back. But if you like this content, please hit that subscribe button and we can see more videos like this. They're blowing everyone out. I mean, they won that game by 80 points. And they lose right there to the Washington Wizards, the 2010s team. Let's take a look at that. I didn't even see that when I hit the simulation button. So the 2000s team, Shaq with a decent game, not great. 17, 12, 2, 3, 2. Filling up the stat sheet, but you want a little bit more from Shaq. Tim Duncan with 20 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, almost a triple-double. Over 50% shooting is pretty good. LeBron with 14 assists on 27 points on 12 of 18. That's really good. That's a LeBron game. Kobe with 28 points, 14 rebounds. So him and LeBron almost had the same game. LeBron just had more rebounds, more steals. That's really good for them too, for the wings. And Allen Iverson, 13 and 21. That's really good with 10 assists. Can't ask for more. How did they lose? They lost by 12 points. How did that happen? Kevin Durant on 3 of 10 shooting from 3. That's not good, but he still had 21 points. Steph Curry doing his thing. Only 4 of 13 from 3. How did this team score so many points? Insane. Blake Griffin, triple-double. Small ball 5. That's great. We're still taking a look at the Rockets up until the All-Star break. I don't think they lose any games here before the break. And they lose right there to the 76ers, 104 to 112. To Joel Embiid, 35 points. So the Rockets are 54 and 4. Those are 2 losses right there. One to the 90s Spurs, one to the 2010s Wizards, one to the Philadelphia 76ers right before the All-Star break. And what is the other one? And to the Orlando Magic. At the All-Star break, San Antonio Spurs, the team from the 90s, is 54 and 5. The Rockets, the team from the 2000s, is 54 and 4. And the Wizards, the team from the 2010s, is 56 and 3. So they're all really even. They're all within 1 game of each other. We're gonna take a look at the Wizards, the 2010s team, right until after they take on the 90s Spurs team. Now this is the most interesting game to me because it's such contrasting styles of play. Got guys who shoot a lot that are long against a team that plays like a lot down in the paint and in the mid-range. And we'll see, and they're a lot more physical. And the 2010s team loses by 7 points to the 90s team. Steph Curry really got stifled by Gary Payton. I guess that's why they call him the glove. 3 of 14 shooting from Steph Curry. You don't see that too often, but he still got 15 assists. Blake Griffin, 18 points on 8 of 18 shooting. Those bigs down there really clogging the paint. Karl Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon. LeBron, still doing LeBron things. Triple-double on 9 of 12 shooting. 4 or 5 from 3. Kawhi Leonard doing his thing against Michael Jordan. I mean, they're almost like spitting images. Just Kawhi a little bit bigger, but not as skilled. Hey, you never know. And Kevin Durant going off against Scottie Pippen, 40 points on 14 of 18 shooting. I think Steph Curry really lost in this game, or Gary Payton won it. And sticking with the Wizards, they got their last game of the year against the 2000s Rockets. Let's take a look at the records right before this. So the Wizards, the 2010s team, is 77 and 4. 77 and 4. The Spurs, the 90s team with 1 game left, is 74 and 7. So far the Wizards are the best team. And the Rockets are also 74 and 7. The Wizards are the best team record-wise, but let's see if they beat the Rockets in the last game of the year. And the Rockets beat them in the last game of the year. And the MVP of the entire league, 90s players, 2000s players, and 2010 players, is the Miami Heat version, the 2010s LeBron James, who I said was the best player ever, I think, in my opinion. 26 points, 10.5 rebounds, 13.5 assists, 2.5 steals, and 2 blocks on 58% shooting from the field and 44% from 3. I told you this guy is the GOAT. The GOAT! And he shows it right there in that stat line. And Defensive Player of the Year, like I said, one of the best defensive players of all time. Hakeem Olajuwon for the 90s. Coach of the Year is the coach of the 2010s team. Let's take a look at the all-league teams. Starting off with the All-NBA first team, we got Luka Doncic, the 2010 Steph Curry. I mean, look at that young guy, babyface assassin right there. The 2010s MVP, LeBron James. Tim Duncan from the 2000s, and Hakeem Olajuwon from the 90s. No Michael Jordan on this list, but there he is on the second team with Ja Morant, Karl Malone from his team, LeBron James, and Shaquille O'Neal. Let's see if the third team, all three LeBrons gonna make a team. All three LeBrons made it. The 2000s, the 2010s, and the current version of LeBron James made all NBA teams. The 2000s, Kobe Bryant made it, but there's a couple players who just didn't make this team. There's 15 players we put in the league. Not all 15 are there. The defensive team, of course, they come from all of the players we put in. The second team, even Allen Iverson made it. Luka Doncic, that's not right. Kawhi Leonard, one of those throwback style players. Giannis, of course, and Shaquille O'Neal. The playoff picture, how it shakes out, is the San Antonio Spurs, the 90s team, is the #1 seed in the West, and the 2000s Rockets is the #2 seed in the West, but I'm pretty sure they're about the same record. And Washington Wizards 2010 team is the first seed in the East. Let's take a look at the players' averages in season, see who was the best player. Luka Doncic led the league in points per game at 38.5 points per game, followed up by Ja Morant with 34.8, and then the current Steph Curry, and then Michael Jordan, who didn't make the first team All-NBA. Who led the NBA in rebounds? Shaquille O'Neal with 16.8, followed up by Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan. Karl Malone, Blake Griffin. So all the throwback players led the league in the rebounds. Who led the league in assists? Gary Payton, followed up by the babyface assassin, then the Miami Heat LeBron James, and then the baby LeBron James is right there also in the top 5. Now let's take a look at the records. The Wizards 77-5, the Rockets and the Spurs 75-7. The best offensive team in the league, no surprise, is the 2010s team. And a big surprise here, the best defensive team by 0.1 points per game is the Houston Rockets, the 2010s team. I thought it would be the 90s team. Now we're going to simulate through round 1 because they all should sweep. And they all sweep. The Wizards, the 2010 team, got the Toronto Raptors. That's going to be an easy series for them. The 90s team's got the Golden State Warriors, so they got Steph Curry coming to town, so who knows? Maybe Gary Payton can't guard this version of Steph Curry. And the Houston Rockets 2000s team has Ja Morant coming to town, but they got their own Ja Morant and Allen Iverson, so who knows? Let's go ahead and simulate the round. Gary Payton was able to lock up that Steph Curry. Ja Morant got 1 game against the 2000s team, and the Toronto Raptors got the 1 game against the Wizards team. Now this is what we've all been waiting for. The first playoff matchup against the teams is the San Antonio Spurs 90s against the Houston Rockets 2000s. This is the best matchup, most close matchup in my opinion. This is what we all want to see. Jordan versus Kobe, Jordan versus LeBron, Allen Iverson against Gary Payton. This is what we want to see. Tim Duncan, Karl Malone. This is it. This is the best matchup. Game 1 goes to the 90s in a 14-point victory. Here are the stats. Game 2 goes to the 2000s. Karl Malone doing his thing. Michael Jordan doing okay. Game 3 goes to the 2000s. I don't know how, but they won that game apparently. They held the 90s to 99 points. Game 4 goes to the 2000s. A bad game from Kobe Bryant. Doesn't matter. LeBron James got your back, buddy. And the Wizards, of course, get through in a sweep against the Chicago Bulls. That's a no-brainer. And game 5 goes to the 90s. Michael Jordan doing what he needs to do with 40 points on 15 of 22. The 90s team said, we're not going out on our knees. But they go out on their knees anyways in a 4-2 loss. Tim Duncan, the MVP of the series, 20.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists. And we have the 2000s versus the 2010s. The most skilled era of all time against maybe the most iconic era of all time that really burst the NBA onto the scene. I know Michael Jordan's era really took him to that next level, but the Allen Iversons, the Kobe's, the LeBrons, the Shaquille O'Neals, the Tim Duncans, the Stardom really put it on the map worldwide. Everyone was watching no matter what. Thanks to Michael Jordan and Magic and Larry Bird and them, but these guys took it to the next level as far as stardom goes. Game 1 goes to the 2000s in a close 4-point game. Steph Curry really the only one doing what he's got to do. Game 2 to the 2010s. LeBron James 16 dimes on 10 of 13 shooting. That's really good. 2 guys over 30 points. You're going to win a game like that. Game 3 to the 2010s. Yeah, that's just not enough points. 98 points, you're not going to win the game. Can the 2000s even up the series? Yes, they can. 2-2. I'm doing this live. I'm not just reacting. I don't know what's going to happen, so I know some comments be thinking that we don't do these things live, but we're doing it live. Huge games from Allen Iverson and Tim Duncan and Shaq. Kobe Bryant with 13 assists. That's great. LeBron James 13 assists. That's really good as well. Game 5 goes to the 2010s. Oh, and a blowout, 21 points. Kawhi Leonard doing great. Steph Curry, 29 points, 18 assists. This guy's really taking over, this young guy. This is the 2-time unanimous MVP. If you haven't already hit that sub button, please hit that sub button. I mean, this is a sub-worthy series. I mean, let's take a look. We got, of course, go to the Simcast in the elimination game in the finals. It is really close back and forth. And they force a game 7. LeBron James says, not so fast, guys. I got us. Almost a triple-double. Great game. Really took it up on himself with 24 shot attempts. 3 guys over 30, a guy with 27, and Allen Iverson with 21 points, but 18 assists. This is what we've all been waiting for. The Game 7 against the 2000s Rockets versus the 2010. We have to see what happens. Who is the best era? We're about to find out. The 2000s or the 2010s? It's really close game, but the 2000s are running away with it here. And I think that, oh, it's getting close. But the 2000s with Allen Iverson, Kobe, LeBron, Duncan, and Shaq are the best era. Tim Duncan with the MVP of the Western Conference Finals and the Finals. 20.5 points per game, 13 rebounds, 12 assists, 2.5 steals, 3 blocks per game. That's why he's the best power forward ever, and that's why I had to take him. And if you like this video, please hit that sub button, and I will see you in the next one.